So I was like mortified. It was horrible. And then I went to the lawyers on both sides later and apologized just because.
Oh, you did?
I was like, I'm so sorry that held you up. Like, please don't think that I'm
Yeah.
not paying attention to the rules or anything like that.
Right.
I'm just really sorry.
I know.
didn't mean to interfere. I was really trying to be a fly on the wall. I swear.
We're rolling, okay, we're ready.
Ready to go? Okay.
Oh, how does this work, by the way? So this isn't live or anything, right?
It's not
this
live.
is just getting edited and then.
Yeah. This is not live. It will be, long form later. Then I'll, cut it down and
Right.
things like that.
Okay.
So, excuse me. All right. So, let's start first with what happened yesterday in particular. We'll just start right there. When Jodi got up in her final statement.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that she was going to kind of go on the offensive against everything that had just been said by the Alexander family against her? Did that catch you by surprise?
I hadn't reviewed everything that she was going to say, so some of it caught me by surprise. But I knew that she was upset by some of the things that they had said because I think she feels like she's defended herself this whole way along, and she also knew what was going to happen yesterday, but I think it's just one last time, let me tell you what I think the truth is. But yeah, I didn't know everything that she was going to say.
Was that frustrating? Because, you would think in that final moment, your last chance, that's your time to plead for your life, to be remorseful, and instead, it was, seemed like to attack the Alexanders.
I've been seeing that, and I don't think that she meant to attack the Alexanders in any way. I think that in describing how she feels, it's like she knows what happened. She was there, and she for the relationship and everything. She knows all of this, so she knows what their relationship was really like. And to have people in court day in and day out describe something that is not true gets to be frustrating. And I think at the very end, that's kind of how she was feeling, is she feels like she knows what the relationship was like, and for people to come in and say that that's not true, who weren't there, is frustrating for her.
For the first time, we actually heard her, suddenly the fog that she had been in was lifted. She was very clear on the order of what happened, corrected the timeline and said, nope, I shot him first. Then I stabbed him.
Mm-hmm.
Then I slit his throat.
Mm-hmm.
And he was conscious and awake.
Mm-hmm.
Why not? Why say that then? Why be so? How did the fog clear? Did she?
Well, what she testified to in the first trial was that the shot came first. That she always knew. She had always remembered that. And then there was a struggle after that, and then she ran from him, and then from there things got cloudy. She couldn't quite remember what happened. But she did remember after that, memories started coming back, and I guess apparently according to experts that I've spoken to, it's not uncommon for when you have to relive something over and over again, over time, the memories can start to come back. And so that seems to be something that happened because we all knew that she remembered the point of cutting his throat. So we all knew that, but you all didn't get to hear her testify, so because of the Court of Appeals and all of that. So that was something that would have been testified to in this trial because she had remembered it, but it didn't work out that way.
Did you know she was going to say that part in the end? Because that seemed pretty harsh for the Alexanders, for her to say pretty clearly, oh, I remember he was conscious.
No, I did not know she was going to say that.
You mentioned for a moment just there that her family, knew about their past and about Travis, and her family had said that they had seen bruises. Why didn't you have them testify to that in court?
It depends on which family member you're talking about.
Any one of them. Let's go through the list, why or why not.
But I mean, who said that?
Excuse me. I believe it was it her mother that knew about the bruises or saw that she had been bruised?
I don't know. I honestly I didn't read her statement before she said it, so I don't know that she said that yesterday. I don't remember her saying that.
No, not yesterday, but just throughout. Like, if there was a point in the trial where I believe it had come out that there was evidence that Jodi had bruising to show that, a family member knew about. So why not use that?
Oh, we don't know about any family members that knew about bruising. There was a witness that we were trying to track down that we could never find.
That's why you could just never find that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. With you and Jodi, your relationship with her.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start with that. Is it strictly professional? It's been a long time. Do you have a personal relationship with her at this point?
No. I mean, the way it works with attorney-client, especially in capital cases, it's really important for you to get your client to have a trust in you and have a trusting relationship. It's part of the rules, actually, that in capital cases that they tell us to do. I wouldn't call it a personal relationship because I'm not calling her, I'm not visiting her, but I care about what happens to her, and I don't think that's any different than any of my other clients. I strive to try and get along with my clients. I think it makes things easier. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. It just depends on the client themselves.
Do you get along with her, or are you angry with her? I mean, everybody has known this kind of underlying animosity between her and her team, if you will.
Right. No, I get along with her. It took a while because I wasn't her first attorney. I wasn't even her second attorney. So I didn't come on the case until January of 2012. So it took quite a while to establish a trusting relationship between us. And so that was that. By the time we got into trial, even in 2013, it wasn't, our relationship still was, it wasn't bad. It's just I don't think she had that trust because she had been through so many other situations with different attorneys. But certainly we were able to get to a point where she trusted me, so she would listen to my advice.
Do you get along with Nurmi?
Yes. Oh, yes.
But he doesn't get along with her.
The two of them, sometimes that happens.
So how challenging does that make to have a team that's not cohesive and you're trying to put this defense together?
It's difficult, but it's not unusual. It happens because sometimes, especially in capital work, you can imagine, sometimes our clients are very difficult. And so it happens. You do your best, and ultimately what you're doing is you are protecting their rights and protecting the Constitution and defending them. And so, sometimes you have to do that and you don't get that trusting relationship, and it does make it more difficult. But all in all, it's something that you learn to deal with, and it's not abnormal, I guess.
Were you ever frustrated with her because, you would tell her one thing and then she would talk to the media. She would go against the jury and say, I'm the girl you're never going to get, and then switch. Was that frustrating to you?
It was. She only did it once when I was on board after the verdict, the first verdict when she was convicted of first degree. Other than that, she didn't speak to the media after that.
And did that catch you by surprise? Did you go, oh no?
None of us knew that was going to happen. Apparently it was something set up beforehand and nobody told the attorneys.
Did you feel like you have to go on damage control when that happens, or?
No, because we weren't speaking to the media. So there really was, there wasn't much damage control that we can do because we weren't taking our case, the defense, to the media. So no, there wasn't really much we could do about it.
Do you have words with her and go, that really wasn't a good idea, that didn't help things?
I speak with her about it, but I can't really go into the things that we talk about.
I think what a lot of people are wondering is, you did mention yesterday that everybody doesn't get to see the real Jodi in court, that she holds back her emotions and her tears. So have you ever seen her break down, and did you feel like it was genuine?
Oh, yeah. Yes, and I think yesterday was like a perfect example because she can talk to me about how she feels and some of the things that she was saying, not when she was on, as you say, the offensive, but when she was talking about how she regrets it and she's repulsed by her own actions. When she talks about those things with me, she talks about it in like with a normal gait, with pausing and talking, just like a normal conversation. And yesterday was such the perfect example. When she's standing up there speaking to the judge, she is reading it, and she started to cry when she talked about cutting his throat, and then she specifically took a break, stopped, swallowed it back, and then kept going. And that's, for whatever reason it is, that's just who she is. She's not able to do it in public.
I'm not sure that even came across yesterday, that she started to cry.
Yeah, you guys only saw the back of her head, but that's what was happening. I know I was reading one article today that somebody said that she paused on purpose so that everybody could get the effect. She was starting to cry, and so she took a deep breath and just swallowed it back, which is what she does.
So have you ever seen her have a breakdown?
Oh, absolutely. Many times. Hmm.
Do you believe her?
About what?
That, do you believe, well, which story, I guess? Have you always been on her side and believed that she was the victim throughout all of this? You believe that there was no malicious intent, that she, even though she has been convicted for killing Travis Alexander that way, that it was always protecting herself?
I'll tell you, from the evidence that I've reviewed, the journals, the emails, the text messages, the G-chats, that information, in looking at her psychological testing, things like that, I believe that she was involved in an abusive relationship. I think that all the evidence points to that. I don't believe that she was a stalker in any way. I think all the evidence supports that when you look at how often she spoke with him, how often she saw him, how often they were having sexual relations together, but nobody else knew it. So I do believe in those things, but I believe in that based on the evidence. I mean, that's kind of my job. I can't just necessarily take what a client says blindly. I have to look at what can support it, because what ultimately I'm concerned about is what can we do in trial.
Why stick with her? Even now in her appeals, why stick with her? Even after she said, I'm going to represent myself, why stick with her?
Well, I don't have a choice, for one. And two, I'm not sticking with her in appeals. That would be inappropriate. I don't do appeals. So I'm pretty much finished.
Gotcha.
So, so I'll be finished. As soon as I file a notice of appeal, I'll be finished.
You didn't have a choice? You couldn't have backed off at any time and said, I'm not working with her anymore, she's not listening to our direction, or...
No, that's not the way it works generally. I mean, it doesn't really work that way. And I never had a point in time where she wasn't listening to me, or to a point where I didn't feel like my advice was, where she wasn't listening to a point that it was to her detriment. And that's usually, as an attorney, you're gonna want to withdraw when a client is so upset with you that they're not going to take your advice anymore because they don't trust you. And I never felt that we ever got to that point with her.
She was prepared for yesterday. She believed that she was going to get a life sentence.
Oh yeah, she knew.
She didn't have any hope left that she might not.
No.
Do you feel that she was mentally prepared for the transfer and to go to Perryville?
Yes.
What would make you think that?
Well, because she told me. I mean, she was. I don't want to say happy to go to prison, but she was ready to move on. I mean, she had been here for 7 years, and she was really ready to move on. She never wanted it to take this long.
But moving on to a more lockdown, tougher situation.
That's her life, you know. I mean, that's it's amazing what humans can do and that they can adapt. And so you look at somebody who gets thrown in jail, it takes a while, but people are able to adapt. And that's kind of where she's been. I mean, she's able to adapt.
What changes would you say that you noticed over the time that you've worked with her, that might be a cause of living in a cell in a small space, just enduring?
Oh, that is a good question. I don't know. I mean, just the fact she never complained about it. So, because I always think it would be so awful. I mean, I've seen her cell, and, I just think it would be horrible to live in those types of conditions. But she never complained about it. It was just, this is what my life is, and this is, she would talk about how